Hello everyone, this is Plague Doctor here on the Breachers VRML on the VRML network channel. This is your host, Plague Doctor, here with Nightfire, my co-host, on an exciting match tonight. We're watching Wilted Rose versus Bacon Lettuce Cheese.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to hop into this one. It's, I don't know, a bit of an underdog story, I think. If you're looking at the statistics, if you're looking at where these teams come from, you know, you see Wilted Rose ranked 17th, Bacon Lettuce Cheese 13th, and Wilted Rose, a team not necessarily familiar with playing at this tier. You look at their squad, you look at the players in this team. They've climbed up the ladder from bronze to silver. I feel like this is maybe their first time breaking up into that gold diamond atmosphere. Meanwhile, BLC kind of on a bit of a fumble, coming off of a recent loss that we just caught earlier this week, I think. And now likely, I think, is this a challenge match, is my guess. Coming in from Wilted Rose. I'm not quite sure on that. I'll do my research to figure that out. But either way, it's an exciting one between these two teams that I'm looking forward to getting into. And there's a chance, I guess, in my mind that Wilted Rose are going to surprise us this afternoon and take a series away from BLC.
We'll see. We are seeing the bans today. We have BLC banning Factory. We have Wilted Rose banning Arctic. Which will be a good ban overall. Arctic ban for Wilted Rose would mean that Bacon Lettuce Cheese is one of their stronger maps taken off of their roster. But in return, we have Arctic being banned. We have Factory being banned by BLC, which is one of Wilted Rose's strongest maps. Somewhat surprised to not see Ship banned because of the difference in win rates. We have Ship being a 76% win rate on Wilted Rose, Bacon Lettuce Cheese only having a 48%, but we'll see if it works out for them. There's a good amount of maps to work off. We're gonna get started into this relatively soon. Nightfire, what are you looking to see from this matchup today?
First checking to see they have their active rosters. Is there anything that's out of the ordinary? It looks like everyone is where they need to be. No subs coming in. It's the core rosters this afternoon for both squads. On Rose, we have, Wilted Rose, we have Soka, Lychee, Vibes, Yuji, and looks like we're getting ready to jump in to our first.
Chip is going to be an exciting one. On paper, just looking at the loadout, looking at the people on the team, and also on their win rate so far, Wilted Rose is favored to win this map. They have a 71% win rate on Ship so far, which is nothing to be scoffed at, especially with that amount of rounds. Normally you see a high win rate on something where someone has played 7 rounds, maybe they've stomped a team, maybe they've stomped a team or two, but 38 rounds played, 70-ish% win rate, that is easy to have. I want to see Rose pull out some good rounds.
Yeah, this is, again, a bit of an underdog story for Wilted Rose this afternoon, but it's the excitement of tuning into a match like this, and it's why we're tuning in to see what's going to happen. You know, this Wilted Rose squad coming out strong the last couple of games, feeling likely good, and you look at the middle of the VRML with Breachers, and it is competitive to a very high degree. I mean, surprisingly so. From silver to diamond, basically, we have super skilled teams spread throughout there. And so this could be a squad that's coming in this season and trying to break up into the gold diamond echo space for their first season. So we'll see what we're going to get out of BLC on the attack, but also obviously Rose as they tuck down on A site.
Yuji, Arashi, and Sokka all trying to hold down this A site. Nade comes in, almost takes out Arashi, but barely doesn't. Wall is foamed from the BLC squad. They're taking this relatively slowly. Wall's now opened. Minute 50 on the clock. A lot of utility going now. It does take out Arashi. Yuji trying to hold down the point. However, we do see Dopey is pushing around, taking out Sokka. And we just have Lychee, who is on the flank in Vibes and Connector. It's going to be interesting to see if they can take him down. Lychee does take out TCG, getting pushed in by another player, but takes down Dopius as well. It is a 1v1, mostly equal health. Both players a one-tap from the Spectrals. See if Lychee can get it off, but Space moves out. Bot walks over, takes out Lychee, giving BLC their first round of the match.
Nice little opener for BLC, but it came awfully close there. And that's, again, what you'd expect out of I guess maybe not what you'd expect. I don't know. It's pistol round. So what you know? Who knows what's going to be happening in these opening pistol sequences, especially on ship. But for them to take it that close from Wilted Rose, I do like to see that. That is a good opening defensive hold from them, and it doesn't put them into a great spot monetarily, but you know, SMGs can be bought here in round 2, and they're competitive. They get you into a really good spot if you win the round. You get plenty of cash on the board to compensate for the investment into it, so it's a big risk reward trade-off you're making, obviously, in these second rounds. And I know I say it all the time when I watch these series, but it's just so nice to see the mid game actually be mid-game. You know, it used to just be nothing, where it was pistols or rifles and that was it. But SMGs prevail for several rounds now, and really you don't get into rifles unless the team's dominating or you're into the later rounds.
Yeah, something I've been talking to with a lot of the active players is that right now it's not really a rifle meta, it's an SMG meta because of the extra 150 you get from each kill with an SMG. That money counts. If you get 2 kills, that's an extra $300. That's another extra frag. That's nearly 2 bits of other utility that you can use. It's very useful to use the SMGs, and they have a lot of bang for their buck. We're seeing Yuji on a lean peak. On the A side, very point-central defense from this Wilted Rose squad. We do have quite a few players just sitting inside the point, just waiting out. BLC looking to throw some utility in, may get some good hits off. In return, Wilted Rose does dump some utility out. Lychee on flank does take out 2 with the Omen. Gets taken out by Space. Tishu Fox gets taken out by Nade. In return, throws in another. We just see a lot of trades on utility. However, Space gets a good kill with that Omen. Sokka and Arashi trying to put on the point with Vibes. Out on flank, Dopey is trying to get the plant off for his team.
Yeah, here comes the push up. Shots just around the corner. They're trying to interrupt that EMP plant, and they do manage to trade. A back and forth. Vibes picks up double, and that's going to set Wilted Rose up for their first defensive point. SMG kills coming in, no less, so those are going to be nice hits of cash into the pocket. They're going to carry with them an extra SMG through to the next round, but ultimately you can't carry more than one weapon per player, so it's up to Sokka grabbing one, and they do. So a pretty decent bit of bounce back there, and again a huge double kill swing at the end there from I can't remember. I think Lights, Vibes maybe. That was Vibes, and it was just clutching up the round.
It was Vibes on the flank. I want to take a look at that again. We're seeing the vent push. They were in vent, pushes around the side, staying pretty cool, calm and collected. They did see Space. If we looked at that camera, we saw Space check the back line, but look away just in time. It's that Breacher's timing, that FPS timing overall. We're seeing Wilted Rose now trying to capitalize off of that first round win. We see a early hero buy. Lychee with the Vezin trying to get some good kills off. BLC sticking with mostly RCPs, which is an odd thing to see. Typically, unless I'm wrong, but I've been seeing it quite a bit on some of these matches. We're seeing Omens and Vipers. Not a lot of RCPs, so maybe BLC is trying to focus on more of a run-and-gun style of gameplay where they're pushing in close range with their RCPs. RCP is a 2-tap headshot from a close distance, so it could work out if they get their timing right. Bit of a thorn in their side, however, is Lychee upstairs.
Yeah, quite literally the Wilted Rose, as that's a big investment coming in with that Vezin at the top floor there. You're in round 3. That's a lot of money you're spending on a rifle. It's a risk. You can see their financials definitely low. Everyone else pretty well off though, so it's a calculated team effort. As the nade comes underneath the door blocker, does bounce around, nothing too crazy. Ends up getting rid of that door blocker, so TCG can push in if they want to. But for now, it's a bit of a holding pattern, as just kind of poking and prodding from BLC.
Lychee still on the flank. BLC does have a good flank watch so far with Gloomy Melanie, as well as Diffuser was on the door but decided to push away. I would urge BLC to not get rid of their flank watch. We see this happen from a lot of teams, especially teams who underestimate maybe some squads who haven't gotten as high up on the leaderboards till they have now. Arashi waiting, might get seen by the wall blow. It is foamed up. Arashi may get seen, does get taken out by Dopius as TCG Fox pushes in to get the plant down. Lychee taking his chance, rotates down, checking box, does get incend out, as well as a nade. Diffuser knows he's back there because of the comms from his teammate, is now pushing in, checks bottom stairs. Lychee with the Vezin could be a fantastic pickup for this BLC squad. Leechy pushes around, gets taken up by Diffuser. That is EMP down, and just Yuji Itadori left to take down the rest of these BLC players, and he gets taken down by the flank watch on Space. As BLC claiming their second round over Wilted Rose, and we saw the plan from BLC working out. And honestly, Nightfire, when I'm looking at the defense from Wilted Rose, it has me a little bit concerned. They're letting BLC get a lot of ground. Typically, if you're trying to do that defense, you don't want to give up these key areas outside point in order to, you know, just make sure that you don't have to give up a ton. You don't have to let them blow walls. You can stop them in their advances. Currently, Wilted Rose is having one person rotate off point. The rest are staying in, and so they're just giving up all of their ground, letting BLC get all the positioning they want.
Yeah, we're in a weird state though right now where they're not at that big of a disadvantage. You look at double Vezin, 3 Omens comparatively to 1 Marui and a Vezin and 3 RCP or RMPs. It's interesting to see that because these players are saving their SMGs into this round too, they're not spending money. So their finances are great, but in terms of kits, it's pretty even between Rose and BLC here as we get ready to dive in to the 4th round outside of A.
We're seeing Leechy, the dedicated roamer, may get droned out. You see a pretty dedicated drone from Dopey trying to just figure out where these players are. Navigation push from BLC, pretty standard for a lot of these plays. And standard defense on the Wilted Rose side. We see a lot of players on A, 1 chilling in connector. Leechy on the dedicated flank watch. You have to wonder how many times BLC is going to let Leechy go on that roam before they eventually just start planting someone on the stairs or on the roam just to make sure no one can go in. TCG Fox moving up. There's the wall about to be blown. BLC going for about the same push they did on the first round. Let's see if it works out again. TCG Fox just waiting. Yuji getting some info peeks in. Does get some hits off. However, wall blows. Smoke goes down, but Leechy takes out 1 from stairs, now backing off a little bit. Yuji gets taken out. Gloomy Melanie takes out Sokka with a nade. Dopey takes out Leechy on the flank. It's just Vibes and Arashi against a BLC 4-stack.
Ooh, low HP across the board. Gloomy swings the corner aggressively and catches the kill. Arashi scoops up 1 with the trip mine over by sight, and the EMP goes down. Vibes on a slow and quiet swing, trying to spring the trap onto this corner, and if they had been a second or 2 earlier, they could have had a double lined up. Instead, they're going to go up against Diffuser, who's coming into that back line, and the shots just come so close. Vibe's going to get hit from every corner. And not a lot of chance there with BLC staying coordinated after the EMP plant. And I think the main issue we're seeing with the defense from Wilted Rose is that they're allowing them to really cover a lot of ground. You know, I think you see a lot of higher tier defenses get a little bit more aggressive earlier, or at least compete those outer areas a little bit, just to slow down, a squad like BLC, slow the momentum down, interrupt their general game plan. And, it's when you let them breach the walls, get into sight, and with 4 left alive plant, then it's going to be really hard to obviously win that round unless you're planning on the retake round, which is what I thought was happening these last 2 rounds. I thought maybe Wilted Rose was going, okay, you know what, we're just going to let them take basically the EMP plants, and then we're going to play the retake. And to me, that would be a very interesting change of strategy in the meta, because it's something we don't see a lot of, or really any of, right, is a team allowing an EMP plant so that they play specifically the retake. I think once the EMP's planted and you're defending the retake, you're attacking that retake, it's too challenging. I don't know, but just the thought I was having as I was watching these teams, one that I really haven't had until this series. So, this is why I like to tune into any kind of game that I feel I have time for, whatever it is, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know what kind of thoughts are going to come in. And yeah, it's, I don't know, so far a pretty fun one. I'm curious to see if Rose are going to put a second point, because they definitely need 3 on defense here.
It would be very nice to have 3. Right now, they're getting a bit utiled out by BLC, getting a lot of foam down on the walls, throwing in some nades, but they are being very patient, which is what I like to see. Some teams get too overly aggressive. I have been talking about, I do want to see some more somewhat aggressive plays, because they need to get some ground taken away from the offense. Currently, BLC has had just a easy take of storage, easy take of gen. Anything they really wanted to take, they could have. You can see some utility going down. Dopius takes out Arashi. Just want to see some good holds from Rose. Can't give up too much ground. Can get it off, but Dopius pushes back. It's a double kill on Lychee and Yuji. Takes out Vibes. Potential for a 4K. If he can just get into the connector. And takes out Sokka, and that's an ace from Dopius. Well done to the BLC side.
Nice right there. The push in, well executed, obviously, by Dopey, but, you know, again, just a little bit of lack of coordination from the Wilted Rose side on that defense there. They were kind of going one at a time at Dopey, making that ace even possible in the first place. You know, you want to try and hit from multiple angles. You want to team fire, especially if you're down on eco and you're not doing a full buy and you have limited weapons. You know, to catch a kill with a pistol early is crazy. You know, it sets you up so nice for that round. You're a 5v4, but ultimately, again, because they're allowing so much space to be taken, you know, Wilted Rose are just having a tougher time holding these rounds down. And it is Ship, so maybe when we swap sides, I could be eating my words, and this Rose squad's going to be super coordinated on their offense and put up a solid attack half.
Could be. I do want to see it, because this is what I'm talking about. Wilted Rose, we've been talking about it a little bit. They're just giving up so much ground to BLC. Now, I want to clarify for some people who may not be, you know, as experienced in breachers or just not realizing, I'm not saying that people need to just stay all the way off the points. They need to get uber aggressive and come out and do everything they can. I'm more just saying that they need to put some util out, just do some peaks at a point in order to slow the progress for BLC, because we're seeing what I'm talking about. BLC has free claim over medical outside point, over the wall blow outside point, and on the back hall outside point. They have everything free reign. They have nothing stopping them from just pushing straight in. If there had been some utility from Wilted Rose, if there were some nades or some incendiaries, it would just block their progress off a bit. Currently, TCG Fox over on BLC is thinking about pushing straight into point, it looks like. He does not have a foam, but he could just push straight into A because of just no progress stoppage from Wilted Rose. EMP may go down if they're not careful.
Allowing a lot of room. Nade comes out, does some nice damage. Hirashi trying to get the flank, but gets shut down. Lychee gets picked off trying to swing forward, and everyone just going down on a defense. One kill from Vibes. Dopey pushes forward, and they continue to add points and kills onto their KD. Another one going down, and it leaves Vibes alone in the 1v4 on the retake again. And, you know, again, Wilted Rose just been on the retake too many times on defense here. And, BLC lock in their last point of their offensive half. Now here's the side swap, the reset in economy, and maybe where we see Wilted Rose start to bounce this thing back in map 1. And again, it is map 1 and a best of 3, so we do have at least a second map here to be played out after this. And so maybe we're already thinking about that one. If you're on Wilted Rose, I don't know. You know, maybe Ship isn't the place for them. They want to move on already, but the offensive half is here. Their pistols are in hand. This would be a nice round to pick up. Puts you 5-2, breaks the monotony of not picking rounds up a little bit, and then you go into round 2 where you won last half, and maybe you can replicate success there with SMGs. Who knows, right? Is it the kit or is it the side? We're gonna find out here pretty soon. But yeah, that definitely. I don't know. I think Ship is. I don't know, honestly. I feel like it's offensive sided, but this season with the current way the meta is with SMGs, I'm not so sure.
It really depends on the round for me, honestly. When you're on pistols, it feels like it's mostly more defensive side, but when you're on rifles, offensive side is typically how I see it. Already we have an early pick. Speaking of pistols, TCG Fox takes down Vibes. Dopey trying to hold down navigation with TCG. They do have Hatch blown. Sokka and Lychee both in. TCG Fox takes out one. Dopius leans out, takes out another. That is a 3K from the BLC squad. It is just Arashi holding BLC from getting a flawless round 7 over their side. We're seeing the coordinated defense, and this is exactly what I was talking about. On the BLC side, their defense has been not overly aggressive, but they're not letting Wilted Rose take any ground on Ship. They're holding it off. They're using utility, and they had good peaks, which allowed them to stop Wilted Rose from even entering the building in most cases. This is what we want to see on ship. It feels like Wilted Rose, their defensive strategy might belong more on somewhere like Dam, mostly like Dam, where you don't need to do as much denial on entry because the points are a little bit bigger. You can get some more spots. Here on ship, or on hideout with bottom floor storage, you need to hold those down as defense, or you've already lost half the battle of that round.
Yeah, and that's literally, that defense there was what I was talking about the whole time. We were seeing Wilted Rose, leave that front, let basically BLC in that front door. Wilted Rose, or BLC said, no, you're not even going to get in the front door. We're gonna put up a contest at least. We're gonna put 2 of us here on the front line. They're doing it again with Defuzzer and a clone, so not exactly great support, but they're going to try and throw it off. TCG will pop out the doorway if they need to support Defuzzer here. So it's actually a very interesting way of using the clone to bait out shots. Defuzzer's going to try and they're both going to try and spring out once the clone does get shot, if the clone does get shot. They've got a trip mine here. It's super stacked up in this room, and we'll see if Wilted Rose even end up pushing into it. They do have Utadori just outside, Lychee's just outside, Vibes up on the second floor, and the drone's coming in. Defuzzer finds one through the doorway. Lychee doesn't even have time to push in. Usually can't find the kill on the outside, and it's an early pickup.
Defuser pushing back, and this is the type of defense I'm talking about that BLC is employing. They were holding Medical, the room just outside of the point. They were holding over by that birthing, but we're seeing a good offense from the Wilted Rose squad. Sokka picking up a kill. Dopey now stuck in the back room of Medical. Does take out Vibes. Dopey might get wall banged out. Yuji and Itadori. Yuji, Itadori, and Dopey having a bit of a shootout. Yuji gets taken down, leaving Arashi and Sokka against a BLC 3 stack. Arashi will be flanking over by B. Uncontested so far if BLC doesn't check their flank. Meanwhile, Sokka, again, trying to push through birthing, shoots at the clone. That's some valuable information for the other team. Dopius has his back turn and gets taken out by Arashi. TCG Fox staying cool, staying collected, waiting, biding his time. He doesn't know which way to look, unfortunately. He's going to have to choose. He chooses one, takes out Sokka, pushes around, tries to take out Arashi. Arashi pushing outside. Only thing against losing this map, might get pushed in on. He can't go for a save. He has to get this round off or lose the map. Quite an unfortunate situation. He does have EMP. He could go for a bit of a cheeky rotate. Gloomy Melanie, TCG Fox banking on the fact that Arashi won't go for a rotate. And it seems likely that they won't. They don't have a stim. They don't have much else. They could try to get in. But at this point, there's a static down. Neither team can see each other, but Arashi was going to have to shoot the static out. They're too low of health to actually go through the static easily. Oh, they lose a couple ticks of health. They loot and get taken out. They don't check their corner. Oh, that is unfortunate for Wilted Rose. Going down 7-1 on ship. I'm excited to see map 2. Hopefully Wilted Rose can get a few good defensive rounds out, good offensive rounds out. I want to see some good gameplay from them. Maybe they just came into this cold. We'll see you all on an exciting map 2 between these two teams after a short ad break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Breachers VRML here on the VRML Network channel. We just got off an exciting map 1 between these two teams, Wilted Rose, Bacon, Lettuce, Cheese. 7-1 victory for Bacon, Lettuce, Cheese. Unfortunately, Wilted Rose just did not have a very good defensive half, but we'll see if they can improve it for map 2. Nightfire, do you have any thoughts about that last map?
Yeah, it's not a old map. So like my theory of, these teams, a team like BLC has a little bit more history. They've got more experience. They've played, the old traditional maps quite a bit. Even Arctic, I guess, now has been around for a season or two, so it's not exactly a new map either. It did get reworked last season, so I don't know. You know what I mean? But still, it's maybe the trick to the point is to take this team that's familiar with a lot of the maps and take them to a new, fresh map. A place where they maybe don't have a bunch of strategies already worked up, and maybe if you're Wilted Rose, you put a little time into practicing the new map because you're new to the game. It's a map maybe you like. Who knows? But there could be an opportunity for Wilted Rose if they do go to Mall, which does look like it could be in the cards for our second map this afternoon.
So yeah, those bans, did work out where Mall isn't banned. We've seen that banned quite a lot this season, but I'm hoping to see it more. We will be taking, I believe one of these teams has called a timeout, so we'll be taking a bit of a break. So I think we're going to go to just a short intermission. We'll be back after that timeout, and we'll see you on our second map, folks. Welcome back, everyone, to the Breachers VRML. Just got off a timeout from these two teams, getting into our second map of the series, Mall.
Yeah,
Nightfire, I don't think you've seen Mall in League play just yet, have you?
No, I don't think I've ever spectated Maul before, and yeah, I'm excited. I don't. Hopefully, I get to see some structured gameplay this afternoon. But with Maul being so new to the game, and obviously so rarely picked in the regular season, I'm just wondering how prepared these teams are. Because obviously, me not prepared. I haven't been on this map at all. But is that the same for both of these squads? Because the stats are showing us that it is the case, that they don't know what they're going to be doing this afternoon.
Yeah, no, looking at their team pages, neither team has played Maul in League play. However, I do know that most likely BLC and possibly Wilted Rose have played it in scrims. They'd be remiss not to. I believe I've seen BLC on Maul, possibly in a off-season scrim cast. Bottom arcade being pushed in on by Wilted Rose, Defuser, and TCG Fox blocking it off. Maul is somewhat unique in their plays. You haven't seen it too much, Nightfire, but Maul has multiple meta pushes, I would say. This whole floor on the side of the point is a meta push. You push from either bottom arcade or you push from top arcade. There isn't really a better choice. Typically, teams will default to bottom arcade just because they can lean around and peek a little bit better. However, this is also better for the defense. And so some teams, as we're seeing from Arashi coming around, they go for another meta push on the other side to split up the defensive players.
Yeah, a nice opening kill there for BLC, as it has been the trend so far in this series. They've been typically finding that, but Arashi almost having a chance there to go up against Dopey. Is Dopey now looking for more, not going to find anyone else stacked up there. TCG going to go down to an instant from their own team as an enemy one comes down awfully close to Lychee. Does a little bit of damage, but they're tucked into a corner where they're okay for the time being, as Diffuser very low on HP and Vibes just a refrigerator away.
Yeah, we have Defuser just trying to push through. Sokka gets taken out by Diffuser. It's just Vibes stuck in lower arcade behind the bar top. Space, Gloomy, and Defuser, they don't know he's there. They know that the other team came down the stairs by lower arcade. They know some people came in lower arcade, but Vibes is an unknown factor. However, they don't need to worry about it too much. Vibes does not have EMP. He can't sneak around to A because of Space holding the EMP down in upper arcade. Vibes is stuck. He doesn't really have the chance to make any sound cues, which means BLC is going to have to take the initiative if they want to take him out, which is a good opportunity for Vibes to pick up some kills, some easy pickings, if he can get it. Now coming around to lower arcade, Diffuser does peek it out, barely misses him. Gloomy Melanie gets taken out. Vibes goes for the reload, Diffuser waiting it out, getting very patient. I'd almost push back to my teammate in this case, get some numbers advantage. He does push back towards Space, getting numbers advantage. Vibes, unfortunately, will just not get out the round. He does push downstairs. Isn't able to get any utility. However, he does save that Spectral. Wilted Rose gets taken down. BLC claims round one, but it was pretty well contested, I would say, by the offense on Wilted Rose.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the trend, honestly, despite the scoreline being pretty heavily favored in the BLC side. We've seen at least the pistol round and a couple of other rounds come very close between these two teams. Where Wilted Rose are right there fighting, but it's just those last moments of coordination where they just can't quite pick up a round win. And also I think obviously the fact that they consistently find themselves down a player early, it just means that more likely once you get to the later stages of that round and even in this map that you're going to have some issues. So yeah, I don't know. It's they're trying here to get some footing up against BLC, and they are close, but it's just not quite enough to get them the round wins they need.
Continuing the trend with Maul being a bit of a weird map, there's again a couple, a definite like two meta pushes, maybe just one, but mostly two meta pushes on this map and one very off meta. You don't really want to come in through pharmacy. This is very open for defense to control. However, the meta push, typically on mall that people have been seeing, is either pushing up the stairs towards A or coming through the door by B. It looks like Wilted Rose has opted for A. They're blowing hatch as well as going for the wall. We'll see if they can get this off. Baconless Cheese now rotating around, trying to get a good foothold and deny entry. We're seeing again them not giving up too much ground. They let people get to the wall, but Defuser is ready and waiting outside. Dopey is in the back room on Pharmacy. TCG Fox going for very ambitious long roam. Quite far away currently. It's going to be rough for him to get there in time to help his team. Lychee nearly gets taken down by a nade. As we see a two-person push, EMP goes down, but Gloomy Melanie denies it. A lot of gunfire being traded back and forth, but that's Dopey is taking out Lychee. Dopey pushing up, does see vibes, takes him out. It's just Sako who's going to get flanked out. Gets taken down by Dopey. And that is Baconless Cheese claiming round 2 on Maul. And I would argue, Nightfire, we're seeing BLC has some experience on Maul. They know where the pushes are. They know where they need to put utility right now. And I think Wilted Rose seems to be the same. They know the pushes they need to take. Yeah. Just a matter if they can put them into effect.
Yeah, that was definitely a decent play there. They tried with Insins and timing to breach their way in. A lot like VLC have been doing on offense. They've been very successful on their coordination with these quick, in-sync plays. The trouble was there, I think, for Wilted Rose, that they had 2 lagging just a little bit behind, so the 3 commit in, but you lose the full force of the 5, everyone barreling through at the same time. So again, that coordination a little out of sync, from my perspective at least, and I think that's one of the reasons that Wilted Rose's push didn't quite work there. But I like the effort at the EMP. I like the attempt. I really do. I like seeing that. And, it's didn't work well, obviously, with Flawless coming in. Nobody getting picked up. It means no dollars going into your hands on offense. But maybe here in round 3, we'll see a little bounce back.
I'm curious to see what push Wilted Rose is going for, because typically what we would see is either someone going over to where I believe Arashi is on the other push, or going through records, coming around to the staircase where Dopius is ready and waiting. However, what I somewhat expected to see was a storage push over near maintenance. If you can get into loading bay, into the back of A lot of times that works out very well for teams, but it seems that we have Wilted Rose going for a bit of an off-meta push onto A, which Baconless Cheese is not expecting currently. Space, Defuser, and Gloomy Melanie just trying to get some sound cues. Space is ready and waiting. Wall banging. Maybe they heard some footsteps as Dopius is roaming down towards the staircase. Good comms for his teammate. As well as Dopius now rotating down the stairs. Lychee, if he's watching the stairs, could be on a good flank watch, but if he doesn't look out, it's going to be rough for his team if he gets taken down with no recourse. Wall blows. Space is ready on the defense. Defuser and TCG Fox ready and waiting to punish if someone tries to rotate fully around. Ready to get in. EMP may go down soon as Space gets taken out.
Ooh, Diffuser double. The swing from Yuzi does not pay off. Diffuser triple. Dopey on the flank. Down the stairs, and Lychee finds themselves absolutely overwhelmed by the remaining BLC players, all pushing in to find that final kill. 3 rounds in the pocket, and in pretty quick succession. This is looking to be a fast series at this pace with how BLC are setting the tone here, really not letting Wilted Rose get their footing, and in particular on offense. We saw those last 2 defense rounds go tough on Arctic for them, and it's that trend continuing here. We're seeing BLC be very aggressive on their defense. They're sticking out 1 or 2, 3 players early, trying to find picks, and when they do, kind of sets Wilted Rose off into a cascade there. They just don't have the coordination they need when they've lost that 1 or 2 players early. So yeah, another tough round there. But Wilted Rose, I like to see the determination. They're focused here into this next point, round 4. Maybe if they can get 2 on the attack, side swap on defense, we'll see a little bit of a bounce back from them.
I do want to see it. BLC going for a bit of a spread defense. Wilted Rose seem to be changing their strategy a bit. We saw them go in on the A hatch last time. They seem to be thinking about going in over near food court, perhaps. Dopey and TCG Fox ready and waiting. There's a clone in the back That will be drawing some fire, giving TCG some valuable information. I believe Wilted Rose may have identified that it's a clone. Don't put too many shots down range. TCG ready with the RCP. Dopey actually pushing back, leaving TCG Fox to defend this alone. Vibes does take out space. On the other side of the field, TCG Fox still waiting for the push from the players he know are near this door. Clone is still down. Sokka looks to push in. TCG Fox gets taken. Takes a kill. However, he's going to get pushed in on by Lychee. Nade goes out. TCG Fox knows there's someone downstairs. He heard the footsteps. He isn't checking it, though. He may get taken out. Fox leaves his RCP down. He gets pushed in on, but doesn't even bring his RCP up. Gets taken out. Yuji gets up on the desk, takes out Dopey. Cloaks up, trying to take out Diffuser as well. Does, unfortunately, get taken out. Arashi gets the refrag. It's just up to Gloomy Melanie to face off against a Rose 3-stack. Currently, they are all in the same spot, other than Vibes, who's actually by the other point. Could be a bit of a wild card to take out Gloomy if he's not careful. B, about to get pushed in on. Gloomy hears the wall blow. Vibes rotating around to his team. EMP is in the hands of Arashi. But Gloomy does have some utility to put down to deny the plant. Push down the nade, unfortunately doesn't get any hits. He's now down utility, but does take out one. Nade goes out, pushing him up further into the point. Gets taken out by Vibes on the push-in. If not Vibes, it would have been Arashi on the table next to him. That is Wilted Rose picking up their first round of the map. And additionally, some good money and some good economy to pick up for the future as they keep a Vezin and a Marui from the last round.
Yeah, that was a nice play there coming in from Wilted Rose. Good execution on their early pick in particular. Sets them up into a nice tone for the rest of the round and kind of puts BLC on the back foot. That's what they really need, is BLC slowing down, because when BLC is just barreling forward, confident in themselves, finding early picks, makes it very hard for Wilted Rose to even get their setups. It seems to me that Wilted Rose have setups, that they have plays that they want to try and execute on, and when they do manage, they do find success. You know, a close pistol round opener here, and now a point on the board in round 4. There's still half of a half left here, and so I think there's room for Wilted Rose to go 3-3, and then again, the side swap, where if they go 3-3 again, we could go to overtime for map 2.
Could do, and that would be an interesting thing to see. Maul and overtime in one match. Arashi ready and waiting on the door. Space is ready to deny entry. We're seeing this from BLC. They're very, I would say, aggressive defense so far. They aren't letting Wilted Rose claim too much ground. Door blockers down, denying entry. Very spread out offense from this Wilted Rose squad, however. We're seeing one upstairs, one on ground floor, another on the opposite side. If BLC can isolate these players, it'll work out well for them. But if they just give them 1v1s, could see some good picks from these odd positions that Wilted Rose is taking.
A little bit ways in to round 5 here, but pretty quiet. They still haven't broken this outside wall until final. Nudidori do work their way in, and Yuji is on the front line, getting shots through the wall from Diffuser, and TCG is the setup from Wilted Rose starts to come through towards the outside of B.
Arashi baiting out, I believe, TCG's trips just to make sure he can't get taken down. Foam does go out. Foam 2B is about to be blown, which will open up the points. Dopey does take out Vibes. TCG pushing up back to a better position. Lychee and Yuji inside bookstore. Arashi just waiting. They need to be watching the stairs. We know that there's no one on the stairs, but for all Wilted Rose knows, there's someone flanking on those stairs. They need to have someone watching. Arashi could get flanked right now. That would take out Lychee and Yuji as well. Arashi does get taken out by Dopey. Oh, and then Yuji pushes up. Gets taken out by TCG. It is just Sokka, who I believe is on the other point. Now pushes around. TCG is looting. Does get taken out by Sokka. Evening it up a little bit by 1. It's a good trade. If BLC gives him a good set of just 1v1s, it could work out. He does have the gunplay. He just needs to get off the kills. However, it looks like BLC will be planning on pushing together. Seeing just a good amount of team play from the BLC squad. They're not giving him individual picks They're letting each other get refrags instead of pushing up alone. Playing the buddy system a bit. Sokka most likely will be staying to save the Vezin that he has. Unfortunately, not able to get any other utility. That will be the 4th round on the board for Bacon Lettuce Cheese. Not too bad, honestly, for this Wilted Rose stack. They can get this off as long as they can just get it down. They need to get a second map on the board, or second round on the board. Somehow that didn't do it. Oh, that was a teammate's nade, I believe.
Yeah.
I thought that didn't do any damage to him. That was a teammate's nade. Bottom floor. Nightfire, what do you want to see? Now that you've seen a few rounds on Maul, what do you want to see from this Wilted Rose squad on the offense that maybe they haven't been doing?
You know, I think the success came when they really did have a nice full team sync up in an early pick. You know, obviously that early advantage, I think, is really going to set the tone for this last round of the half. There's going to be a lot of utility, so they're going to get slowed down pretty much every step of the way, right? From trip mines to audio transmitters to even players just getting super aggressive with grenades and flashbangs. And so they got to weather that storm, and there's not a lot of time in each round. So it's a little bit of kind of play patient, try and find a pick for a good chunk of this round. And then as a team, coordinated, work your way in.
Yeah. Ooh, trips go down. Trips do get pinged out, thankfully, by the drone. TCG Fox most likely will not get seen on this back staircase. He's pushing down with the Vezin. We're seeing a full buy from the BLC squad. A near full buy from Wilted Rose. A soft buy. Unfortunately, they just barely can't get another rifle on the tier of a Vezin or Maruri. They stick with an Aril. Arashi baiting out the trips from TCG. TCG waiting it out, not getting too aggressive. Arashi is holding the EMP. Seems to be their dedicated planter. So if Fox can get the kill off on Leech, it'll be a great pick. He needs to play patiently, however. He's going for a peek out. He sees Arashi. I think he might be waiting. Takes out Arashi, gets peeked out, gets taken out by Leechy. That's an even trade of people that it gives his team important information. If he killed Arashi just a little bit further, that would have been EMP down as well. 4v4. Not favoring anyone so far.
A site's wide open here. If they had a bit of foam, they could split that wall open and be planting at A right now. Instead, they got to commit off of A, rotate all the way around to UG so they can get the EMP, which is tucked in now behind this corner where space is holding an angle. So the two need to work together. Soka gets the EMP finally. And this door blocker, a real thorn in the side for the offense right now. As again, BLC sticks their nose out and gets aggressive early. Puts them into a 3v3, but they're tucked in with 40 seconds left.
Yeah, and we saw, I believe, Dopey get just a little aggressive on the peek down from stairs. If he just waited, he knew he had EMP at that point. If he was watching, he would have seen he had EMP, and he could have just waited out the stack from Wilted Rose. But instead, he peeked out, got taken out, unfortunately. Wall may blow. EMP is being not moved over, honestly. I'm not quite sure what the plan is. Oh, and EMP goes down from Maintenance Hatch. That might be round. That might be switch, honestly, for these Wilted Rose players. But they can get it out. UG pushes down. Shoots the clone. Unfortunately, picks the wrong player to shoot. Gets taken out in space. Takes down Vibes, giving DLC their 5th round here on this map. It's unfortunate. That clone played right as BLC wanted it to. Bacon, lettuce, cheese gets the round off. 5-1. Wilted Rose, this isn't done for them. They can get a good amount of rounds off, but the pressure is on.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of clone play this afternoon from BLC that I've been very interested in. You know, it's different ways to play it where you almost put your clone out into maybe even an obvious position. I've seen clones in the past be used as like, this one's going to mimic a really tight defensive angle, right? And then we're going to draw out some fire. But I like having it out a little more, because then it almost forces the guard of your enemy to be down from that corner. And then we are often seeing BLC peek the corner of the clone that's placed there. And they're using the clone almost as cover to mimic the clone's angle, stick themselves out, and find these kills. And it's just a great way of springing a trap. It's a great way of using that clone to draw out your enemy, you know, and it's worked really well this whole series for BLC.
Yeah. Again, Nightfire, I'm very worried about this defense from Wilted Rose. They're letting BLC take up as much ground as they want. BLC has full claim over Upper Arcade, and they're about to have full claim over Lower Arcade. Lychee is going to be going for a roam. However, BLC has no contest to push up. Now with TCG Fox taking out Yuji, that's going to let BLC have full claim over the entirety of Arcade until Lychee can get up the stairs. This is really important ground to let up.
Yeah, and you got to be quick on your flank. If you're too slow, you end up being pretty ineffective. You're off of your position. And with a team like BLC, who's been fast all series long, they're just going to sprint right into sight. EMP is getting planted. Lychee's still not here until finally they spring the trap to catch one. If they could get two, that'd be great, which they do, and they're going to look for more.
Trying to push up. They do get seen by these players over on BLC. Two BLC players left, getting relatively aggressive, pushing into the other point. Sokka at 1 health, no stim. Vibes at 100. Trying to push in from the back line as well. Might be a little too late, honestly. They don't have a lot of health to work with. They don't have a lot of time to work with either. Dopey will see Sokka, takes him down. Vibes gets seen, but takes out Dopiest. Not much time on the EMP, pushes around, gets taken out by Space. BLC 6-1 lead over Wilted Rose. Potential for a series end if Wilted Rose can't get their defensive rounds off.
Yeah, it was almost a pistol round into the hands, honestly, of Wilted Rose. I felt like if they had clutched up that headshot there and caught the kill on the Space, we could have seen time enough to turn around and get a defuse. It would have been basically straight to EMP, 1, 2, 3 tick, and that's pretty tough, honestly. So maybe it wouldn't have, but there would have been a chance, and I would have loved to see that clutch. But pistol rounds are all that Wilted Rose is really able to scoop up so far against BLC. This could be their last round of the series, like you said. We'll see, but what's the buy looking like? It's got to be full. And I imagine, yeah, look at BLC. They're not wasting any time or not spending any money. They're investing heavily here into what could be the last round of this best of 3.
We're seeing, again, 2 RCPs on their side. Meanwhile, we're seeing a mix of Omens and Vipers on the side of Wilted Rose. Difference in strategy, perhaps. Arashi looking to deny some ground on the back of Grocery. But A point is completely empty over on the Wilted Rose side. They will have good defense onto the B point. Vibes waiting out in the hall. Yuji to Dory pushing out. Yuji watching Vibes push in, gets taken out by Diffuser. Lychee roaming up the stairs. Sokka still in B point. May get pushed in on a 3v1 if he's not careful, as Dopey pushes up with Space and Diffuser. Door blocker as well as Static will get taken out as Sokka and Arashi trying to hold the point down. Walls are about to be blown onto the B side. It's already opened up like a tin can. Diffuser Space here. Space gets taken out, but in return, Gloomy takes out Sokka. Lychee pushes around, takes out one. Diffuser up on the bench. Dopey pushes through the smoke, gets taken out. This is a fantastic defense from Wilted Rose so far. We're seeing TCG Fox still very outside the building. Now having to do a 1v2 because he unfortunately wasn't inside to be able to help his team. Lychee hears the push in. Knows where Fox is. Fox might not know Lychee's there. Doesn't have his gun up and gets taken out again. Fox having a bit of an issue right now with not having his gun up.
Maybe the comeback train getting some engine or some coal in its engines right now. Let's see if it gets going, you know. But that's a nice little round into the pockets for Wilted Rose. A good solid hold that could have gone much worse for them. So yeah, again, a really nice job, good way of fending off this push. And you know, it's, I don't know, impressive to see Wilted Rose contest against this squad. This team here, BLC, you know, playing it pretty well so far this season. Losing recently to Suits, Suits losing to IVNA, and Suits on a big win streak before that with 4 games in their pocket. It gives you perspective to the point that if you are Wilted Rose and they're playing this well, that there's still more to come. Even if they are able to get to a point where they can beat a team like BLC, they have to then be able to beat someone like Suits and then IV, and there's these even higher tiers for Wilted Rose to continue to hone in on, and it's just their first season. So I don't know. I'm impressed to see how much they've fought against BLC, knowing where BLC is in the history they have, and for them to pick up a 2nd point is awesome. Maybe they can start to get a little momentum here.
Possibly. And I don't know if you remember Nightfire. I was talking about the loading docks push in that I wanted to see from Wilted Rose. That's exactly what we're seeing from BLC. They've already pushed up. Wall's about to be foamed. Wall's already blown. Sokka, unsuspecting, is up on the bench. Does get flashed out. Will get taken out by Gloom and Melanie. Already a 3v3, 3v2, not even 30 seconds down on the clock. And already BLC is in the building with the MP down. 45 seconds left until Wilted Rose will get taken down for the series. Lychee in the point for a change. Vibes all the way outside. He has a long way to run to get back. He has to get down the stairs to his team. Meanwhile, Lychee going through a very contested connector. He's being watched by multiple angles. Dopey on his right. Dopey sees him come up, but checks. Does get timing, but gets taken out by Space. It is just Vibes holding his team. Oh no, but the nade misplay! He gets taken out almost by his own nade! And that will give BLC the 7-1, 7-2 victory over Wilted Rose in this series.
Yeah, a solid attempt from Wilted Rose this afternoon with a bit of a welcome to the top tier. Coming in off of a couple of wins. They now find themselves going up against an opponent that was maybe, if anything, feeling the hunger for a W, right? Coming off of that loss against Suits. A tough one for them over the course of 3 maps, or 2 maps? No, 3 maps, I think. No, 2 maps. That stings a little bit, and so it's, for them to then get their own win here, it's a nice rebuttal from BLC. It's good to see the team bounce back like this. It's not going to shoot them up the ladder, but it'll be a nice W that is going to boost them up there. And in the meanwhile, Wilted Rose got to take this as a learning experience. Come back and watch the VOD. See what worked, what didn't. Try and adjust some of their strategies, sync up on their coordination a little bit more. But I think there's a lot of good base to work with from Wilted Rose and their team. And I'm curious to see where they sort of sit at the end of this season, because we are getting sort of to the back half, later stages of the regular season right now.
Yeah, no, week 8, we're pretty close to that 2/3 mark for the season, getting up on it. And also, we're only a few months away from Con 2025, Arizona. Pretty exciting. Before we log off for the night, Nightfire, do you have any closing thoughts on this matchup? I know we talked about Wilted Rose, maybe they can get this up, but specifically, I want to talk about map 2, Wilted Rose. I feel like maybe they need to get a little more practice on Maul. Do you have anything that you saw on both sides that really maybe could just, just for the audience out there?
I liked what I did see. Maul is definitely an interesting map. That's my first time being able to cast on it, so I was just happy to jump into it and be able to watch a couple of rounds on it. And I wonder why, I guess, it's so lightly picked so far this season. Why it's a map that's so often banned, even at a high tier. And maybe it's strategy, maybe it's limited entry points, limited options. Maybe teams want more choice. I don't know. Maybe it's the lack of practice. I'm not quite sure, but it definitely worked out for BLC. And if anything, maybe they showed a little bit of their hand that they can play Maul and play it relatively competitively, because that was a really solid offense and defense from them. They definitely predicted the attacks quite well.
Yeah, no, I think overall, good gameplay. Before we sign off tonight, I want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. First of all, Triangle Factory, the ones who brought us this beautiful game, Breachers, who made the Spectator client that I'm, showing you the gameplay on. It's been fantastic to work with Triangle Factory here at VRML. We've worked with them on the wonderful skins. You can pick up the official VRML skin in the in-game shop right now if you want to, as well as the VRML finalist skins that you get if you're a finalist in the VRML. It's been fantastic to work with them overall throughout these years. It's been great to work with a company who really listens to their players and to their collaborators. Additionally, they've contributed to the prize pool for VRMLCon 2025. If you come out, there's $5,000 up for grabs for Breachers, $20,000 total up for all of the games at con. You won't want to miss it. Additionally, I do want to give a thanks to HyperX for providing the wonderful, there's headphones, there's microphones, everything in between for your computer and for your headset needs. In fact, I think Nightfire, you're using a HyperX mic, aren't you?
Oh yeah, the Broadcast S right into my PC. I loved it. Love the HyperX gear. Always high quality and can't recommend them enough. We love their sponsorships.
Oh, 100%. And Bob as well uses HyperX gear. We see that all the time. It's been great to work with them. ProTube as well, providing all of the peripherals for your headsets. You have attachments for your controllers. You have, I believe, stocks for your controllers, everything in between. Go to ProTube for your needs. I also do want to take a moment to thank you, the viewer, for watching. If you weren't here, if you weren't supporting the stream and supporting these teams, we couldn't do what we love doing, bringing the gameplay and to enjoy this with you. So thank you all for being here, for supporting the stream and tuning in. We had a good few people in the chat today. Toxin, Ruby, Lychee came in after the game ended. He was in the game, came in after. We did have Soundwave in. We had Ruby. We had a few other, including Oops Taylor, Jolly Rancher King, who were in watching this cast, supporting the teams, and seeing who would come out on top. Thank you all for watching today. We hope to catch you on another cast on the VRML Network channel for Creatures or for another of the games that we offer. For now, hope you all have a great rest of your night.
VRML is brought to you by Helga, the esports manager, Triangle Factory. Thanks for watching VRML.